Hey Stampers, welcome to my Sunday morning no-line watercoloring class. Just a beginner, so no expert by any means of the imagination. I've only started with flowers because I find that that's easier for me. So I want to show you what I've done and the supplies that I use, and then I'll show you a little bit of the watercoloring. But these are some of the finished products. I've followed Wendy Cranford. This Bristol paper, which does not have the same grain that watercolor paper has. So I find this is a little easier to work with. You can move the water and the ink around a little bit better than on watercolor paper. Brush. Again, Wendy Cranford suggested this one. This is a number 2 round watercolor brush. So you're going to need a refill. And I use this little paint palette and just put about two to 3 drops in here. And that will last you for a really long time. And I usually put either a piece of cellophane or a piece of wax paper or put it in a clear bag, and even when it dries up, all you need is a little bit of water to reactivate it. You need water and you need paper towel. When I first started, I made a real mess. So you can see here, I'm not very good at leaves, still a work in progress. Here I used crushed curry, too dark for me, I'm too heavy-handed, not a good color for me to use. This one is Flirty Flamingo. These were some of the first ones that I did, and you can see I've already cut out the ones that did come out well. So this is Flirty Flamingo and crushed curry. It's okay. As I said, it's first attempt. Here I've got Melon Mambo, so saffron, Blushing Bride, and I tried to bring in some Melon Mambo on that. Didn't like it, but the flower's not bad. Blushing Bride again, and here I was testing out different techniques. So this is all about practice. Then I moved on to the hydrangea. This is Highland Heather and Old Olive and Terracotta Tile and Old Olive. Then I've got the sunflowers. This one I'm a little hesitant to start, so I have not started that yet. So when you're doing this, to do the no-line watercoloring, you want to use one of 2 inks I found is best, either Crumb Cake or Sahara Sand. So I'm going to use Sahara Sand today, and I'm going to use the hydrangea because it's my favorite flower. So this one's Retired Best Thoughts with the hydrangea. Birthday Blooms, I love this flower. To a Wild Rose. I'm not liking this one as much, but this one does work. And Forever Blossom. You need to find the one that's going to make you happy. My eyesight is terrible, so I make sure I've got plenty of light. And you're going to stamp this 3 times. And it's first generation and second generation. Now they recommend using your 3rd generation to do your watercoloring, and because my eyes are bad, this is 2nd generation, and I don't think I can go any lighter than that, so I'm going to stick with that. And I usually go ahead and stamp a couple. Use as a guide, so always stamp it in the same direction so that if you can't figure out on this light one where the petal starts and stops, you can refer back to the darker one. Okay, so that 2nd generation came out a little darker, so let's go ahead and do a 3rd one on that one. Okay, now that's really light. All right, so I always have one of the flowers just off to the side so that I can test the ink color. For some reason, not all the inks blend very well. I just do a petal or so just to see how the ink flows. And what you're going to do is you wet your paintbrush, dab it off, and let's move this up here. So I'm going to pick up the tiniest bit of ink. I mean, it doesn't even look like there's ink on the brush, but there is. And I'm going to start, let's pick a petal I can actually see. I'm going to start at the base of this petal, and I'm just doing little dots to kind of frame the base of the petal. Clean that off, and it's amazing. This ink flows so much that you need very little. And remember, you can always go back and add more ink. You can take it away, but it's not as easy to take it away. And I'm just dabbing and pulling it to the tip of the leaf, and I'm leaving the base color. Now, once you have the base down, you can go back in and add more color. Again, I picked up very, very little, but you can see it picked up ink. And you can go in and just kind of swipe it or sweep it into the petal. Always clean off your brush, and then just pull it in. Every leaf, every petal does not have to be the same. And by doing that, you're leaving some white spaces. This one is probably not a great example. Let's see. Here. You can see here, I've got dark, and then I've pulled it and left some white spaces up at the top. It gives it a little bit more of a realistic look. The same thing with the yellow. And do this, and you like one of the buds, but you don't like the other one, well, you can cut that one out. So don't give up with your whole flower if one or two things just don't look right, if you don't like the way something looks. And it's all about practice. If you like coloring, this is perfect for you, but it's going to take you quite a bit of time. It's not a quick process at all. Okay. Now, some inks you're going to find do not blend well after they've totally dried, even if you've added water and more water and more water. So that's why I've tested it here on this scrap flower. Okay, so I'm liking the Calypso Coral color. I'm going to go ahead, and I think I'm going to do this one here. It's a little darker than I would normally go for, but it'll be easier to show you on camera. And when I first started, I tried a couple of different techniques to find the one that made me happy and the one that I thought looked the best. So all I'm doing is very little water on here, but I'm just pulling, and as I pull, I'm going from side to side and around the edge of the petal. I'm going to clean off my brush and get off whatever was still on there, and now I'm just going to pull up from the center a little bit more so it's even lighter at the top. But you can see down here there's still a darker line at the base of the petal. Excuse me. All right, clean off my brush, pick up a little bit more. And now when you start another petal, you don't want to start the petal right next to the first one, all right? Now I'm happy with that petal. I'm going to let that one dry, and I'm going to move on to a different petal in a different area. And now with the Stampin' Up! Stamps, they give you some shading. I've not moved to those stamps as much. Not ready to go there yet, but you'll see lines where the stamens are or the crease in the petal is. I will go back and add that in later with a clean paintbrush and no water on the paintbrush, and that'll give me that that darker line as you see on this one. So I did all my petals first, And then I went back and I added just with ink, no water, and I just with a very, very light hand, just kind of pulled in those creases and those stamens, and then just the little dots. Okay, so, all right, we don't want this one to dry too much before I go in and kind of pull this out. I'm just pulling a little bit more from the base, but I'm not saturating the base because I want to keep that line. I want to keep that definition of a petal. If you don't keep the definition, you end up with flowers that don't look like they have any petals and it looks like a blob. So not a good one. You see there's already an X on that. All right, clean off my brush, pick up a little bit of ink, and you can see how 1 or 2 drops of ink are going to last a very long time. And I'm just dotting a little bit along the base and along the sides where it meets up with other petals. I'm going to clean off my brush, and now I'm just, with a clean brush, I'm just pulling up the color, staying within the guideline of the petal, and that's why if you can't see the petal, I can refer back to this one, which is the darker version, and I can see where the lines are. I'm going to pull this up. You can see one of these hydrangea flowers takes me almost an hour to complete. So this is not something you can do in a hurry. And once you finish a petal, then you can just leave it and come back to it tomorrow. Come back a couple hours later, but finish the petal before you walk away. Okay, I'm going back and I'm pulling from the inside of the petal, from the base of it, just to blend that a little bit more. And it does look like a hot mess for quite a while until you get to the point where you've created more petals than not. Then it starts to look like something. So I'm going to go up here. Again, I'm staying away from the ones that I've already done until I know they're completely dry. And I'm just pulling up the ink. There's something satisfying about doing these. You won't get a lot of cards made this way, but you will definitely have some beautiful, beautiful flowers when you're done. I'd love to see what you come up with, and I hope that this video has been helpful. So I'm going to go back. This first one is pretty dry. I'm going to go back and I'm just going to show you how I do the stamen. So I've picked up ink, but I'm not dipping it in water, and I'm just going to really lightly just pull from the center. Now again, it will look a little different after it's dry, but you can see that at least now it's got a little bit more definition. And again, always refer back to the darker version and just keep on going and have fun with it. It's only paper, it's only water and ink. Mess up one, just keep on going, stamp it again, do it again. Hope you guys have a great day and look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again. Bye-bye.